All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about a massive shift in how we think about our most critical piece of infrastructure, the electricity grid. We're going to unpack a completely new logic for how these markets should work, moving away from a system that's constantly defined by crazy volatility and towards one that's actually built for stability. And believe it or not, this entire shift starts by challenging one very basic question.
You see, for decades, the way we've designed our markets has been built on one single idea, that electricity can be bought and sold just like corn or oil. But what if that core assumption is just wrong? You can't really store electricity at a massive scale, and a megawatt over here isn't the same as a megawatt over there if the power lines are jammed. The laws of physics demand that supply and demand are balanced perfectly in every single instant. And that mismatch, treating a real-time, instantaneous service like it's a storable good, well, that's the root cause of so much of the instability we see today. So, getting this right requires a huge mental shift. On one hand, you have the old model, the equilibrium market. Its whole goal is to discover a price, and it assumes electricity is just another commodity. But the new paradigm? It sees the grid as a bounded feedback controller, an engineering system that we have to actively design and engineer to be stable. Now, this isn't just about buzzwords. It fundamentally changes everything about how we manage our power grid. And look, this isn't just some philosophical academic difference. It has severe, real-world consequences. Probably the most damaging one is the extreme price volatility that is literally built into the DNA of today's energy-only market designs. Okay, now here is the most counterintuitive part of this whole explainer, so lean in for this one. You know those absolutely insane price spikes, where the price of power suddenly jumps by thousands of %? Turns out, those aren't a bug in the current system, they're a feature. It's crazy, right? But in a market where prices usually just hang around the very low cost of production, the only way for power plants to recover their massive fixed costs, the cost of actually building the thing, is during a few super rare hours of extreme scarcity. The system is actually designed to require these jackpot moments just to stay afloat. So, what happens when your whole system depends on these price lotteries? You get systemic chaos. For anyone trying to invest, revenue becomes a total guessing game. For suppliers and big customers, trying to hedge against that risk is incredibly complex and super expensive. And politically, these spikes cause public outrage, which leads to calls for price caps and intervention, which only makes the market more unstable. It can even cause a domino effect of suppliers going bankrupt. It's just a structurally fragile design from the ground up. So if that old model is so fundamentally broken, what's the alternative? Well, we have to pivot our thinking completely. We need to stop trying to perfect a broken commodity market and start engineering a proper control system.
This really gets to the heart of it. A system that looks efficient on paper 1 minute, but completely shatters the moment a heat wave or a storm hits is not a viable system. It's useless. The goal has to shift from chasing some theoretical, moment-to-moment price perfection to guaranteeing durable, predictable stability, especially when things go wrong. We have to start prioritizing resilience.
This new philosophy isn't just an idea. It's built on a completely different architecture, and it rests on two core pillars that work together to neatly separate the grid's different jobs.
So the first pillar is the operational layer, the automatic market maker, or AMM. Forget all the complex, chaotic auctions. The AMM is basically a pricing algorithm. It's constantly monitoring the physical state of the grid, supply, demand, congestion, and it computes a price in real time. It acts just like a thermostat for the grid, sending out stable, predictable price signals to keep everything in balance. The key here is the price is computed from the physics of the grid, not discovered through a chaotic bidding war.
Okay, the second pillar handles the money and fairness side of things. It uses a really cool concept from game theory called the Shapley value. Instead of relying on those crazy volatile price spikes to cover fixed costs, this system explicitly allocates those costs and rewards to everyone based on their actual marginal contribution to the grid stability. So for example, a power plant that provides crucial backup power gets paid for that contribution to reliability, even if it's not running all the time. That value is paid out smoothly and predictably. No more price lotteries.
And when you put these two models side by side, wow, the contrast is just night and day. The old energy-only model relies on price spikes for capital recovery, which creates insane volatility and pushes risk onto everyone, making it politically toxic. The AMM and Shapley model, on the other hand, capital recovery is smooth and aligned with your contribution. Volatility is bounded by design, and risk, it's allocated explicitly and transparently. That's the foundation you can actually build on.
So why does all this technical jargon really matter?
What's the payoff here? Well, it's enormous, and it touches everything from high finance to public policy.
This is probably the single most important takeaway for anyone trying to build the grid of the future. Big, expensive things like power plants and transmission lines need predictable revenue to get financed. By designing an architecture that is inherently stable, one that puts boundaries on financial risk, you drastically lower the cost of capital. And that makes it so much cheaper and easier to attract the trillions of dollars in long-term investment we absolutely need for the energy transition.
The old model kind of pretends to be this pure free market, but all it really does is allocate risk chaotically and implicitly. This new architecture acknowledges a fundamental truth. Any market design is ultimately a choice about who has to bear the risk. But in this new model, that choice is made explicit. It's transparent. It's auditable. We are consciously deciding as a matter of policy how risk should be structured instead of just letting it fall wherever it may.
Now, if you follow this line of thinking all the way to its conclusion, it builds towards something even bigger. We're not just talking about a better market design here. This is a completely new vision for what our grid could and should be.
This is the ultimate paradigm shift. We have to stop thinking of our electricity markets like they're casinos or trading floors on Wall Street. They're not. They are programmable systems for coordinating the incredibly complex physics of the grid in real time. It's digital public infrastructure. It's much more like the internet's core protocols or an air traffic control system than it is the New York Stock Exchange. And that leads us to this final really powerful question. If the market is programmable, it means we can separate the stable, technical architecture from the policy knobs we want to tune, things like fairness weights or different tiers of reliability. The underlying structure can be fixed and rock solid, while the specific parameters can be set through a democratic process. It completely reframes the debate, moving us away from arguing over broken market designs and towards a real discussion about what values we want our most critical infrastructure to actually embody.